As for would I recommend this book, is TikTok's most popular book really worth the read? I think the answer is pretty clear by now, but just in case, I'll say it anyway. Hi, my name is Terry Westwell and welcome back to Panic at the Book Club. This week we'll be discussing Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. If you'd like to take part in this online book club, you can find out more information on how via the channel's intro video. I list the next 4 books down below and on TikTok, and we accept your book feedback in a wide manner of ways. Comment below a video, send a voice note, or even send me a short video clip of you discussing the book. Alternatively, you can just send me a direct message on Instagram. Fourth Wing is a new adult spicy fantasy book series by American author Rebecca Yarros. It's the first in the 5-book Empyrean series, which I think the second book is due to be released on the 7th of November. There are currently no details on when the other remaining 3 books might come out and what they might be called. Fourth Wing follows 20-year-old Violet Sorrengail, who wishes to live a quiet life among the books and history in the Scribe Quadrant. But as the daughter of the Empire's most revered general, her tough as Talon's mother has some other ideas in mind. Ordered to join the elite war college, where hundreds of candidates strive to become riders, death just seems like a heartbeat away. Because dragons don't bond with fragile humans, they incinerate them. With fewer and fewer dragons willing to bond, most would kill Violet just to better their odds. And some would kill her just for being her mother's daughter. She'll need every edge her wits can give her just to see the next sunrise. Because once you enter, there are only 2 ways out. You graduate or you die. Just a friendly spoiler alert that if you haven't read this book yet, I would suggest going doing that first, because beyond this point there will definitely be spoilers. As a lover of romantasy, I really was excited to find out if this book really was worth the hype. But the book really was just a good balance between adventure, spicy romance, and just a damn good storyline. It was written in a way that was incredibly easy to understand, especially for a fantasy book. I think it had a good balance between world building and character building, and it had lots of twists and turns that you didn't always see coming. Although I must say that about 60% of the way through the book, it did feel like it did a bit of a 180 on us. It definitely turned a lot more romance focused than the first half of the book. But I'm not angry at that. Violet's mum, within the first few pages, I realised just how much of a horrible person she was. Which I suppose might not be too surprising for a commanding general in this sort of world. I'm really curious as to where her story arc goes from here. Like, is she as bad as she seems? I mean, she definitely knew more than she was letting on. Like, maybe there was a better reason for sending Violet to become a rider and very potentially die. Or maybe she even had something to do with Violet's father's death. Like, her father definitely knew something, and maybe he died for that. Either way, I'm curious, and there's definitely more to Lilith Sorrengail. I think Violet was written really well, and I think that's what really drew me into the book. She had some very realistic emotions and responses, and despite it being a fantasy book, they felt relatable. Well, at least it did for me. You could see the confidence that she had for herself grow as you got further into the book and the more that she was able to achieve. I think the doubts she had and those little pep talks she was giving herself about how she could make it and she could do this, it just made her seem so human. If you don't like books with a strong, empowering, and intelligent female lead, this book might not be for you. When it came to Xaden, I wasn't particularly surprised where it went in terms of the relationship. Like, there was definitely a point where I just wanted to scream at the book and say, just do it already. Although, if we're being honest, my original speech probably had a lot more profanity in it. I think his character was written pretty well, and he wasn't a straight up toxic love interest, despite that being such a popular trope at the moment. I mean, he was undoubtedly tall, dark, and interesting, but where everyone was doubting Violet, calling her weak, and saying she would never make it, Xaden was practically cheering her on. Towards the end of the book, we're able to see things through Xaden's perspective, and he was looking down at Violet, unsure if she was ever going to survive, and the line goes, "She never looked fragile to me, but she does now." And in that moment, my heart sank a little bit for him. Like, as the reader, I think that was the moment where you truly realise how deep Xaden's feelings go for Violet. Like, that was the moment where I knew Xaden was a keeper. So, if in the next few books it turns into a lover to enemies trope, I'm going to be so disappointed because I like Xaden. But after that line, that can never happen. We love Xaden now. Xaden is ours, and he will forever be with Violet. Okay? Good. When Liam died, first of all, I was on a busy plane home from Vienna with my friends, so it was not a convenient time to read that chapter at all. I'm not ashamed to admit that my eyes may have gotten a bit watery at that moment. Like, it was such an amazing scene. It fully immersed the reader, and I couldn't put it down for fear of what I was about to witness. Prior to this, I did think that due to Ardana's power of stopping time, Violet might gain the power of going back in time and might use it, but now I don't think that's the case. To go back in time, in the middle of a battle to save someone, you don't know what you'd be changing or risking. Somebody else could die as a result, or maybe you'd lose the battle and everyone would die. I don't know. So for now, I think I'm going to put that theory aside because I don't think that will happen, no matter how much we want to save him. I also really enjoyed the dragons themselves. I think they were so full of character and depth, and I'm really interested in what has happened to Ardana and how she's changed. Like, what sort of dragon has Ardana turned into, and what sort of power is Violet going to get? Also, will she still be the same dragon we all know and love? Saving the worst character for last. I don't think I have ever felt so utterly betrayed by a character in a book in my life. Now, don't get me wrong, I found Dane extremely tiresome rather quickly. Like, shut up and listen, dude. She ain't going to no damn scribes. But then it was revealed what he'd done. Like, what the hell, Dane? That was one twist I did not see coming. At least not to that extent. Like, I know he loved the rules and all, but just words. I do not have the words to describe how pissed I am at Dane. Like, when you find out what he really meant when he said that he would miss her, knowing full well that they were getting sent there to die, I could not cope. I honestly hope he doesn't survive the next book. Like, throughout the book, he touches Violet's face a lot, and that's how he sees a person's recent memories. But why would it just be limited to a person's face? Like, if you had that power, wouldn't it be quite convenient for you if people did believe that that was the case? Now, throughout the book, he actually touched Violet about 33 times. Now, that's a lot of times to potentially betray and violate your so-called friend. This book was full of twists and turns, and the ending was no exception. I loved the story, I loved the cliffhanger. In fact, the only thing I didn't love about this book was that I have to wait a whole damn month for the next one to come out. I am so relieved that I enjoyed this book so much. I was worried that it was going to be another book that just didn't live up to its hype. But I do not remember the last time I was this excited and obsessed about a book. Like, as soon as I finished it, I wanted to pick it back up and reread it all again. Like, it was definitely up there with The Magician's Guild by Trudy Canavan, which is one of my favourite books. Like, as for would I recommend this book, is TikTok's most popular book really worth the read? I think the answer is pretty clear by now, but just in case, I'll say it anyway. Hell yes. I think it's a super easy read for anyone who doesn't usually read fantasy. In fact, I'd recommend it if you enjoyed Hunger Games, the Divergent series. At this point, I would recommend it to anybody who enjoys reading fiction. However, what I will say is that if you're not a fan of romance being a main focal point, you might reach a point in the book where you realise that it isn't for you. I cannot stress how emotionally stimulated I was by this book. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but if you're in a reading slump, if you're interested in reading your first fantasy, or even if you're just vaguely interested in reading this book, then do it. I grew up absolutely obsessed with fantasy books, but now I try and read quite a wide range of genres for book club. I genuinely miss reading fantasy books, and I didn't even realise it until I read Fourth Wing. Like, I think it's pretty safe to say that I'll be rating it 5 stars, and I have pretty high expectations for this second book. Bring on the politics, the dragons, the magic, and of course the romance. But let me know what you thought. Did you enjoy the book? Gemma said that she picked this book because of the hype, and for once, it really paid off. She loved it all. Violet, Xaden, and just like the rest of us, will happily admit that she wants Xaden for herself. With magic and dragons and games and trials, she can easily see this being just as big as Harry Potter or Maze Runner. Despite not being much of a fantasy reader, Gemma would recommend this to everybody, and it received a well-deserved 5 stars. Shelley said that she also loved this book, and although she gave herself plenty of time to read it in, it wasn't necessary because she managed to read it in just 4 days. The story just had her hooked. She couldn't put the book down and she just needed to know what happened next. Both Gemma and Shelley are excited for the next book in the series, and I couldn't agree more.
I enjoyed Fourth Wing a lot more than I thought I was going to. While it is a bit simplistic for a fantasy book, I think that actually makes it really accessible, and it gets right into the world straight away and does actually get you invested quite quickly. The characters are a little bit black and white, paint by numbers, done before, but again, that's not an awful thing for fantasy books. Whereas, oh look, the mum's a bitch, she's acting like a bitch. Shocker. And then it's like, oh, there's the goody two-shoes dude with the mind-reading touchy throughout the whole thing. That's definitely like an issue on consent, isn't it? I mean, essentially, not a nice dude, really. And also the whole trope of, oh, we hate each other because our parents are enemies. Oh, I hate you, you hate me. And then they're reading it going, I bet they bang later. And look, they bang. Shocker. But I did enjoy the book. And at one point, it went from action and obstacle courses to, and we're just going to take a 40-minute break so everyone can bang each other in great detail. And I know some people like that, it's fine, but it's just kind of like genuinely there was just a huge chunk towards the end of the book where they went, all right, everyone stop fighting. All right, you guys got out your system? Good. Now we can have another fight scene at the end. I did enjoy the book. Like, to the point where I did immediately check if there was when the sequel was out. And then it was like, oh, it's not out until later. And then I went, oh, I probably won't bother then. But I might. The world could be a bit more complex, but does it need to be? No, it's probably quite a good first step into fantasy books without being douchey or anything. And it is just fundamentally enjoyable. So, yeah, probably read it again at some point. Might recommend it. It was good.
Next week, we're discussing Beach Read, so don't forget to get your comments and thoughts in by Monday the 9th of October at the latest to be a part of the discussion. You can now do this on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram. The following week will be Don't Swipe Right, Now don't forget, if you do need a little bit longer to read a book, I do list the next 4 books down below, so you can choose which one best suits you. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all next week. Bye.